tierra que yo piso es como espuma, desde que voy junto a ti, la noche más oscura tiene luz. Yo pienso que la vida no es tan dura, si todo en realidad me lo das tú, andando de tu mano, qué fácil es la vida, andando de tu mano, el mundo es ideal, andando de tu mano, qué fácil es la vida, andando de tu mano, el mundo es ideal, Señor. Desde que voy junto a ti, mis ojos se han secado por completo. Desde que voy junto a ti, no sé por qué la gente llora. Yo solo en este mundo tengo miedo al día en que yo pierda tu amistad, andando de tu mano, qué fácil es la vida, andando de tu mano, el mundo es ideal, andando de tu mano, qué fácil es la vida, andando de tu mano, el mundo es ideal, Señor.
Good morning. Thank you to Anna for that beautiful music this morning. It's so wonderful to see all of you here this morning, newcomers, longtime members, and those watching online. My name is Sue Von Kane. I am delighted to be your celebration associate this morning. May we gather today to nurture our connections, seek inspiration, and embrace change. Presence is our theme for December. So much is competing for our attention. How can we practice being together and present in the moment? We have many activities this week. Please read the announcements in your order of service to learn more. If you are new or visiting for the first time, I invite you to fill out a yellow pew card and place it in the offertory plate. You can also take it through these doors after the service to the welcome table. We usually have coffee, snacks, and conversation after the service through those doors. Before we light our chalice, let's all take a moment to greet those around us. There is one correction in the announcements. The solstice is on Saturday the 21st, not Thursday the 21st. Today's chalice will be lit by Red Balfour. Please join me in saying the chalice lighting words which are printed in your order of service. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. Thank you. And now, the opening words. Peaches asked me to read by John O'Donohue. Awaken to the mystery of being here and entering the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when new frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift and the courage to follow its path. Let the flame of anger free you of all falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder.
Friends, I'm going to invite you to come on up and grab a basket for our first hymn and Signed with Love collection. We are taking donations for Ithaca Welcomes Refugees this month. You can find more information in your order of service. And I invite the rest of you to rise in body or spirit and join us in hymn number 1062, All Around the Child. morning, friends. It's always such a joy to be here with you each Sunday. This is the time when I invite up anyone who is young or feeling young at heart to come on up and take a seat on the steps with me for our Time for Wonder. Hi, friends. Hi. Hi.
My maybe they accept the refugees sometimes.
Amazing. Come on up, friends. All right. Who has not opened our Wonder Box or hasn't done it in a while? Deanna, do you want to open up our Wonder Box today? All right. What'd you find? A flashlight. I wonder what a flashlight has to do with our theme of presents. You also have a flashlight. We've got 2 flashlights up here. We often use flashlights in the presence of darkness. And winter is the darkest and coldest time of the year. And I wonder, what are some of the messages that we've been given about the darkness? Yeah, Rua. That the darkness is what? Mean. Ooh, the darkness is mean. What other messages have you heard about the darkness? Darkness is, yeah, it's beautiful. I love that one. The darkness is beautiful.
She said
Oh, I heard that totally wrong. She said evil. I heard beautiful. That the darkness is evil. Those totally opposite things there. All right, so I've got some, it sounds like you've heard that the dark is scary. Does that sound right? Right? That there are threats in the darkness. But that isn't always the case, friends. For instance, our pagan friends celebrate the winter solstice at this time of year and Yule. Do any of you celebrate winter solstice or Yule? Yeah, and you're out there, you can raise hands too. It's all right, friends, this is for everyone. Yeah, right? So in fact, this Saturday is the winter solstice, also known as Yule or the longest night. And along with that, you're all welcome to come to our winter solstice ritual at Rosebarb Farm. So long ago, people used to be afraid of the winter solstice, right? Because they believed that as the days grew shorter and shorter, starting in June, eventually the sun would go away and it wouldn't return at all. So those solstice rituals and celebrations were created as a way to honor and pay homage to the sun and to call it back home again. The hope was that the sun would eventually return, even if it did so gradually day by day, and that it would once again bless us and rule the sky. So instead of being afraid of the dark, the winter solstice reminds us that the presence of the dark can be seen as spaces of rest and beauty and hope. So as I said, it's all about looking for gifts with our flashlight here in the darkness, right, at this time of year. So I want to share a wisdom tale that some of you might recognize, maybe the scansion, if not the words, called "'Twas the Night Before Yuletide." You ready? "'Twas the night before Yuletide, and all through the glen not a creature was stirring, not a fox, not a hen. A mantle of snow shone brightly that night, as it lay on the ground reflecting moonlight. The fairies all nestled up snug in their trees, unmindful of flurries and cold winter breeze. The elves and the gnomes were down in their burrow, sleeping like babes in their soft earthen furrows, when lo, the earth moved with a thunderous quake, causing chairs to fall over and dishes to break. The little folks scrambled to get on their feet. They raced to the river where they usually meet. What happened? They wondered, they questioned, they probed, as they shivered in nightclothes, some bare-armed, some robed. What caused the earth's shudder? What caused her to shiver? They all spoke at once as they stood by the river. Then what to their wondering eyes should appear but a shining gold light in the shape of a sphere? It blinked and it twinkled and it winked like an eye. Then it flew straight up and was lost in the sky. Before they could murmur, before they could bustle, there emerged from the crowd with a swish and a rustle a stately old crone with her hand on a cane, resplendent in green, with a long flowing mane. As she passed by them, the old crone's perfume, smelling of meadows and flowers abloom, made each of the faithful think of the spring, when the earth wakes from slumber and the birds start to sing. My name is Gaia, the old crone proclaimed, in a voice that was at once both wild and tamed. And I've come to remind you, for you seem to forget, that Yule is the time of rebirth, and yet I see no hearth fires, hear no music, no bells. The air isn't filled with rich, fragrant smells of baking and roasting and simmering stews, or cider that's mulled, or other hot brews. There aren't any children at play in the snow, or houses lit up by the candles' glow. Have you forgotten, my children, the fun of celebrating the rebirth of the sun? She looked at the faithful, her eyes going round as they shuffled their feet, staring at the ground. Then she smiled, the smile that brings light to the day. Come, my children, she said, let's play. They gathered the mistletoe. They gathered the holly. They threw off the drab, and they drew on the jolly. They lit a big bonfire, and they danced, and they sang. They brought out the bells, and they clapped when they rang. They strung lights on the trees and boughs, oh so merry, colors of cranberry, bayberry, cherry. They built giant snowmen, adorned them with hats. They were surrounded by snowbirds, snowcats, and snowbats. Then just before dawn, at the end of their fest, before they went homeward to seek out their rest, the fae folk gathered round their favorite oak tree, and they welcomed the sun neath the tree's finery. They were just reaching home when it suddenly came. The gold light returned, like an arrow-shot flame. It lit up the treetop that they could see from afar. The golden-like sphere turned into a star. The old crone just smiled at the beautiful sight. Happy Yuletide, my children, she whispered, and good night. Friends, do you have your crowns and your finery? No, let's get crowns and finery for all of you. No. Yeah. We can keep them. Sure. Oh my goodness. Grab one.
I want the blue one.
All right. We have more. You can have them upstairs. All right. Do you have your finery? Everyone have your finery? Did you get one? I don't know that I have that. All right. All right. All right, friends. Let's all stand up. Ooh, I'm going to put one on too.
Yeah.
Woo! I'm just dropping them. That's all right. They're attached to me. All right. Friends, let's stand up and let's welcome in the Yule together. We're going to say Happy Yule on the count of 3 because 3 is a sacred number. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy Yule! All right, our story reminds us to look for the many gifts in the darkness, and I hope in the days and weeks ahead that you remember this story and trust and look for those gifts of renewal and rebirth. We're going to go upstairs for our holiday party. Parents or caregivers, if you have not signed your small person in, please meet us in the parlor. And I invite you all to sing us out with Where You Go, and today sing Mother Earth for us.
Morning. Just a note about how you can get your joy or appreciation into the service. So you can send notices to Joys and Sorrows at UU Ithaca by 9 o'clock on Sunday morning, or you can fill out a green card in the basket before the service. But please remember that our Service is live streamed, so you might want to think about that before you submit, okay? In a spirit of reverence, love, and care, we take time now to bear witness to some of the joys and sorrows of our community, to share those events that call for our prayers and support, our praise and celebration. From Claire and Ram Perez. Remembering Jean Paisley and Francois Gebhardt, who passed away recently, and both their warm personalities that added joy to our life beginning 30 years ago. An appreciation from Sue Rakow. This week, Babies First had a delivery of car seats on a day we didn't expect and for which we did not have coverage. Melissa Heisop, FUSIT's child care coordinator, got wind of the problem and came to FUSIT to bring them in off the porch. This is that special kind of caring that warms our hearts. We wanted everyone to know the kindness and care Melissa offers our community. Thank you from the Babies First team. From Jackie Jablonski. With sorrow, we note the loss of Roland Hoyt, a Tompkins County native who reportedly struggled with health issues. Though possibly none of us here knew him, he was our neighbor. On December 2nd, he froze to death a block from here. May his family find comfort in some cherished memories. And from my family, a joy and a sorrow. We're appreciating the Cornell Veterinary Hospital today. As a family and as a community, we are so blessed to have access to expert, compassionate care for our furry family members at all hours of the day and night. Our family spent several hours with them on Friday night and Saturday morning, and they gently led us to the decision that euthanasia was the right choice for our little SPCA Maine Coon kitty. Cosmo, also known as Cosy, Cosmongus, and Captain Fluffy Pants, was only 11. We did not know that these giant goofy cats can experience paralyzing blood clots due to hereditary heart disease. Who knew? He was a very good boy, and we miss him. For those we are holding in our thoughts, in our hearts, and perhaps in our prayers, into this community, into the space of healing and hope, let us call these names out loud or speak them in our hearts right now. The Solomons. We extend loving kindness to all in our world, and let us not forget to extend loving kindness to ourselves. Today, tomorrow, and beyond, let our hearts be outstretched in kindness, and let us keep showing up to our lives and each other with an open heart, no matter what. Love and courage to us all. Blessed be, and amen.
A reading by Jack Cornfield. Gently close your eyes and enter into presence, relaxation, kindness, and loving awareness. Wrap the world and our experiences in the heart of loving kindness. Learn what it feels like to truly wish well for others. Use the power of our imagination to visualize and experience transformative blessings. Gradually and incrementally, extend our minds to encapsulate all sentient beings. Offer our hearts and direct our loving kindness to those suffering throughout the world. Listen to our intuition and allow our heart to direct itself. Ring in happiness and joy and bring loving kindness to all we touch.
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. Giving to the plate is important. It's a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of this church. I give because I want our liberal society to be available to others as it was to me. And I have Matt as the steward chair, has a few words as well.
Good morning. So, as your representative from the Stewardship Committee, I wanted to say that the offertory is, for me, a weekly reminder of my commitment to FUSIT. People often ask me, well, how does it relate to my annual pledge? And it relates because they're both about our commitments and our commitment to serve and to give. And this morning I wanted to take a quick opportunity to say that there's a sign up out in the volunteer board to help out with a very discreet ask. in the middle of February to get some training and then to help as a congregational connection steward, meaning helping us connect personally with individuals in the congregation or with a cottage meeting. So if I will be here after service if you want to ask me about it, or the sign-up sheet. I'd love to get your help. We need lots of help with that.
Thank you, Matt. For those watching remotely, instructions will appear on your screen during the offertory music and in the information on the live stream image on YouTube. For those attending in person, our ushers will pass the plate.
Just a quick note on this song, it's mine. And the reason I wanted to say something about it is that it was a commission on World Cancer Day. This is a song written for a terminal patient.
¿Qué será tu ausencia? Si seré capaz de aguantar el latir de la vida sin ti. Mañana que no estés, mañana verte también.
Please join me in saying the offertory words printed in your order of service. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
Good morning, everyone. As I was on my way here this morning, I kept thinking about the concept of presence and what it means in my life and what it means in other people's lives. And I thought about this woman that I met a couple of years ago at the opening of the Dalai Lama Learning Center. She was in the audience, and I was speaking and telling a couple of stories about my childhood and where my faith began, which was through my mother. She found the story interesting and came up to me after, and she was in a wheelchair. She was an elderly woman, and she said, she started weeping and said that somehow the story of my mother reminded her of her own childhood and her relationship with her mother, who had escaped from Germany and worked her way through all sorts of traumas to get to America. And she, at 93 years old, will never forget that. And we slowly became friends. I visit her every week in her nursing home and feel the power of our presence together and how we help complete one another's story, even as strangers from two completely different worlds. And that's how powerful presence can be. And speaking of presence, when I got up this morning, I thought, I'm not going. I'm tired. I will not be present. But here I am, and I'm happy to be here. I was teaching the other day, and I had to do a science lesson on solid, liquids, and gas, and the kids were completely out of control. And so I wanted to kind of hone in their attention by saying, well, if you could be any of those things, which would you be? And I said, think of it as a superpower, right? If you could be liquid, if you could be solid, if you could be gas, which one would you love to be? And most of the children said liquids and solids, and one children said gas. And he said, gas because gas is not trapped anywhere. It can go anywhere. It can move anywhere. And it's invisible. And I thought, that's pretty clever. And I thought, what about liquid? What are the benefits of liquid? And then it brought my attention to the concept of love, because I do love being around children, even though they're out of their minds most of the time. And I thought, love is actually like liquid. And our presence is like liquid, because it takes on the shape of the person's needs that are sitting in front of us. It is not stagnant like we're taught to believe. It is not locked into anything. It is not even locked in the moment. It's just there to move and to shapeshift and to mold and to ebb and to flow in recognition of this other person's presence in our company. The concept of presence must be able to move. I call it a shapeshifter. We ourselves are not absent when we're sitting before one another. And often, even in school and in chaplaincy, you are taught to remove yourself and only focus on the other. Well, we can't focus on the other without ourselves. Because when we come together, my energy will alter your energy, and yours will alter mine. It will alter the way who I'm looking at. It would send thoughts through my mind about how I work with this person. How do I make this person feel like I'm embracing them fully and that I'm seeing them in a whole way, not in just a piece or brokenness or somebody disconnected from a larger world. When a particular person and even a stranger enters into communion with us, we acknowledge them. Even though we're taught to be objective, blank your mind, so that you're not creating any judgment. But how in the world would we love and recognize anybody if we don't detail them in the fullness of who they are? Whether it's their age, or their physicality, or their color, the way they wear their hair, the way they sit up, the way they don't, the way they slump over, if they smile, if they don't smile. We read things from one another because of those dimensions of who we are. And that is what helps us to be more present, because we're not looking at them as just a number and another object. Our presence adjusts and adapts to the space that we're in. We shift our presence depending on whether we are engaging in private or in public. If we're with someone who's incarcerated, if we're with someone quite elderly, someone dying, someone who has experienced war, someone homeless, in a nursing home, in a hospital, on the street, or in the sanctuary, because each of these things will undoubtedly require respectfully specific type of being and being present and attending to those. Because part of being present, why it's taken on such a definition, is because it's a piece of how we attend to others. If you look up presence in the dictionary, it means none of this. It simply means to be there. But we have adopted it in a very special way, in a spiritual way, so that we can understand more deeply how our interconnectedness gives rise to much more than we could even speak about, much more that can be healing and helpful to one another. Presence is not a formula. I was sitting at a table the other day at a board meeting, and the word presence came up, and I said, oh, wow, that's the topic of our sermon. And this person went on in his pompous way to explain to me exactly what presence really is, and that it is this and that and the other thing, and it is rigid and it is stagnant, and I should understand that. Now, I have to explain to you, when I was a kid, I used to drive my mother crazy by saying, how do you know that? What do you mean? How do you prove that? How come you think that way? In fact, I remember a story about my mother saying to me, if you use scissors for fabric and then you use them for paper, you will dull your scissors. And I was like, how in the world would she know that? She's only 50 years older than me and has been sewing all of her life. What makes her think she knows more than I know? Well, I was wrong, and really wrong, and I went to her crying because my scissors wouldn't cut my fabric anymore. Presence is not qualitative. It's not quantitative. It is qualitative. It is about how we're with somebody, who that individual is, or who that group of people are that we're with. And our presence molds itself to that. It does not stay still. In business, there's a concept of leadership presence, which is in fact a technique that is rigid. And it's through showing care, whether you care or not, and being influential only to raise production. That is not the presence we're talking about. It's not a business transaction. It's a loving transaction, a transaction of being connected that helps both of us, each of us, be more productive in our lives, in physical ways, and in really emotional and spiritual ways. When we view the idea of presence as a formula that is statically applied to individuals or group with any space and at the same measure within any with anybody we're with, we actually cause two problems. The first one we cause is the imprisonment of our spontaneity as people, whose tenderness and compassion must reflect that we see one another in the light of our love and as who they are as they sit before us, that we respond to individual hurts and pains that have a distinct way of manifesting depending on who that person is. When we use the flexible form of presence, we also understand that what we bring in, our own hurt, our own pain, our own aches, will also shape how we are present for somebody else. Most people who have suffered understand how to be more compassionate. People who have not are not skilled in compassion in the way most people who suffered have. It is this concept of people who live in poverty or grow up in poverty are often generous because they know what it feels to be without. My presence reshapes. It takes the form of the emotional and spiritual dimensions of those I am with. The second problem static presence creates is that it dullens our human interaction because I am no longer looking at you. I am looking at whether I am successful in my technique, whether we realize it or not. That's part of what's going on in our subconscious. It is like teaching. Often, I'm in the classroom all the time, and I've taught for over 45 years. And when you go to school and you learn teaching techniques, trust me, that is not what makes you a good teacher. Because the child becomes almost a test case to see whether your technique works. Where teaching comes from is when you allow yourself to fall in love with what you do and in love with the human beings that are before you, in spite of their craziness. Children are beautiful, the same way we are all beautiful. Each and every one of us, no matter what darkness we may carry, or even, to tell you the truth, darkness we may put out into the world, we are all beautiful in our own ways. And sometimes we have to go beneath the darkness to find that. Sometimes individuals have to refine themselves out of their darkness. That's one of the things you learn when you're in prisons working, is that people get lost in their own darkness, and that's why they commit the crimes they do. But I've often found that when I sit with them, when I am in their presence, or other chaplains, that they bring out, they allow themselves to be human again, to stand in the light of what they hoped to have been, even though they've made mistakes. When we look at presence as a formula, we end up treating each other as objects. We end up focusing back on ourselves without even knowing it. Because like I said, what we're looking for is an outcome to our amazing skill of being present. As if we're getting scores and points for it. Each moment in which we are supposed to focus rapidly folds into the next moment and the next, and our presence must also unfold in sequence. If you think, it's such an interesting concept, and this comes from that childhood of always asking, how do you know that? From moment to moment, we can be inside in completely different spaces. We can start off thinking about one thing, feeling happy, moving into a sadness because it evoked something else. So even from moment to moment, we ourselves are shifting and changing. Sometimes we come back to the original position we were in, sometimes we don't. So technically, there is no moment in which we exist. We exist in a series of minute moments that can change each step of the way. And when you are in the presence, and when you are deliberately being present for somebody like a chaplain would, or a minister would, you have to roll with that. You have to understand that people can shift instantaneously, and you have to be able to adapt to that so that you can still let them know that you have them in your heart and in your mind, and that you're attending to them in a way that might help them heal from whatever they're struggling with. Living in the present goes beyond self-awareness. It is about developing a deeper connection with our spiritual selves and with the world around us. It is about recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings and cultivating compassion and kindness towards ourselves and towards others. Here's a poem that felt good to me. It was posted by the Westmount Sound Center for Spiritual Formation. They list hundreds of poems, and because they're a spiritual foundation and they abandon their egos, they don't post any of the poets' names. There are times when we hear or we see something that feels deeply resonant with us. As this truth is often accessed through cognitive awareness, is sometimes and does not become fully a part of us. I've been deeply curious about how we embody what shines for us, how we make it real. How does this resonance move from the mind into the body, the viscera, the cells, the very heart, so that we live in it with the very fabric of our being? Inner stillness and poetry can lead us to both a greater attentive presence within ourselves and thus a broader access to reality. Attentiveness enables us to participate with our whole being in what we glimpsed initially only with the mind. It is as if silence, which implies listening, and poetry participate in a natural reciprocity, each feeling the other, each folding into the other. A quiet and clear mind receives those spare words that reveal truth, and a hush comes over us as a poem and leads us into a new way of seeing and being. Poetry then becomes an avenue for encountering oneself in a way that approaches the edge of the wordless place, the still point in which we simply are. The desire to rest in who we are is the root of our deepest human longing. It is this longing that makes us present. It is the silence that opens up the poetry. And suddenly we cannot be revealed in 1,000 lectures, sermons, or therapy sessions. We emerge. We emerge entirely. We gain new access to something previously hidden, While the mystery is not solved, we are given the capacity to interface with the veil, almost as though we are remembering. We are remembering. We are remembering in this memory. We have an opportunity to move closer to our essence and to our presence in this world. I see presence as a state of grace that exudes our deepest love for others. It underscores our acceptance of others and allows us to embrace their humanity. It exemplifies Martin Buber's writings about I and thou, the I-thou relationship, characterized by mutual recognition and respect, is a key to human flourishing and meaning. In much of Buber's work, he describes that the foundation of our relationship, our mutuality, is that we both experience the world through the awareness of this shared universe. If we open ourselves to others and invite them into our relationship, we can experience the universe together. We can begin to see the depths of our connectedness through the divine. Our presence is not based on technique. Our presence can have an astounding healing effect on others in a way that we can feel the true relieving qualities of loving. Our culture spends a lot of time analyzing and scrutinizing our need to be loved, and very little time focusing or evaluating the beauty of our need to love others. Our presence can be like the flare shot into the sky for those who feel lost at sea. We become a sign and a beacon of hope. Our presence can be a shout through the wilderness that serves as an audible way for someone who has lost their way to find their way back home. Our presence can be like the North Star, ablaze on the face of heaven, giving someone direction. Our presence can be a tangible reality that no one is alone. Our presence is a glorious gift that we give one another. Cherish it, recognizing it as one of the greatest gifts that we have for one another. Thank you.
The human being is part of the whole called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. Our experiences of ourself, our thoughts and feelings, is something separate from the rest, and it's a kind of optical delusion. It's an optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us. It restricts us to our personal desires, and our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion. We widen this circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole nature in all of its beauty, from Albert Einstein. We extinguish this chalice, and our service will conclude, but our true service will begin. Thank you.
Has venido a la orilla, no has buscado ni a sabios ni a ricos, tan solo quieres que yo te siga. Señor, me has mirado a los ojos, sonriendo. Has dicho mi nombre en la arena, he dejado mi barca junto a ti, buscaré otro mar. Tú sabes bien lo que tengo, que en mi barca espadas, tan solo redes y mi trabajo. Señor, me has mirado a los ojos, sonriendo, has dicho mi nombre en la arena. Buscaré otro mar, junto a ti, buscaré otro mar.
Thank you so much, Anna. Go in peace.